Well, welcome to Exodus chapter 28. This morning we are looking at the high priestly garments. And I think I gave everybody a cheat sheet, which we will use as kind of a review after we read the text. I will throw it up on the video screen so you can see it on the playback in just a little bit if you're watching at home. The Lord told us last time what the tabernacle was to look like. Poles, loops, silver, gold, bronze, all over the place. Different types of garments, skins. Not too surprising then that the workers in the tabernacle are going to be wearing special vestments. And we get quite a bit of detail on that. So, chapter 28 of Exodus, I think we plow through and read all of it at once here. Maybe we can split it up if you like. Exodus 28, who would care to at least start us off? Maybe take us through 14. Bob would? Okay, thank you.
Have Aaron your brother brought to you from among the Israelites, along with his sons Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, so they may serve me as priests. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron, to give him dignity and honor. Tell all the skilled men to whom I have given wisdom in such matters, that they are to make garments for Aaron for his consecration, so he may serve me as priest. These are the garments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons, so they may serve me as priests. Have them use gold and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. Make the ephod of gold, and of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen, the work of a skilled craftsman. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces attached to 2 of its corners, so it can be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband is to be like it, of 1 piece with the ephod, and made with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and with finely twisted linen. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel in the order of their birth, 6 names on 1 stone, and the remaining 6 on the other. Engrave the names of the sons of Israel on the 2 stones the way a gem cutter engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in gold filigree settings and fasten them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. Aaron is to bear the names on his shoulders as a memorial before the Lord. Make gold filigree settings in 2 braided chains of pure gold, like a rope, and attach the chains to the settings.
Fashion a breastpiece for making decisions, the work of a skilled craftsman. Make it like the ephod, of gold and of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. It is to be square, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. In the first row, 3 shall be ruby, a topaz. Did I read that right? In the first row there shall be a ruby, a topaz, and a beryl. In the second, a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. In the third row, a jacinth, and agate, and an amaranth. In the fourth row, a crystallite, an onyx, and a jasper. Mount them in gold filigree settings. there are to be 12 stones, one for each of the names of the sons of Israel, each engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, make braided chains of pure gold like a rope. Make 2 gold rings for it and fasten them to 2 corners of the breastpiece. Fasten the 2 gold chains to the rings at the corners of the breastpiece and the other ends of the chains to the 2 settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. Make 2 gold rings and attach them to the other 2 corners of the breastpiece on the inside edge next to the ephod. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the seam just above the waistband of the ephod. The rings of the breastpiece are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with blue cord, connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart on the breastpiece of decision as a continual memorial before the Lord. Also put the Urim and the Thummim in the breastpiece, so they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus, Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelites over his heart before the Lord. So far, the lesson. The Luke section, and then maybe any questions that pop into your mind after reading that text. Verses 6 to 14, the ephod for the high priest was a kind of waistcoat, pronounced waistcoat, with back and front pieces joined at the shoulders and bound around the waist. Each shoulder was an onyx stone on which were engraved the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. And the breastpiece was a square pouch. On the outside were 4 rows of precious stones, with 3 stones on each row, each stone representing one of the tribes of Israel. In this pouch were the Urim and the Thummim. Urim means light, Thummim means perfection. Precisely what these objects were and how they were used is uncertain. Later history shows how they served as a medium for communicating with God, and that this medium of inquiry was bound up with the official dress of the high priest. So, I guess everybody has their own mental image of maybe those stones. For me, I kind of think about them being like different colors, perhaps. And so you could put the 2 stones in a jar, and then pull them out without knowing which one you're pulling out. And I pulled the white one. The Lord said yes. Pulled the black one out. The Lord said no. But again, that is just I have to go to sleep thinking something about the Urim and the Thummim. That's what I kind of think. But certainly, there's other ways to cast lots. I don't know if so you can't really draw them like straws, right? Sometimes casting lots can be sort of that way. You pick something and I got this sort of straw. Maybe there's some sort of way they threw them down on the ground, and if both of them said yes, both of them were tails, maybe that was a yes. If both of them were heads, that was a no. They were heads and tails, you throw them again. Or God says, I'm not telling you. So we don't really know, right? But I don't think we want to think of something too sophisticated here. Other than the Lord said, I will tell you through the stones, and then Aaron would do it. I don't think it definitely was not a situation where every time Aaron was wondering, was someone lying to me, or should I trust the report, that he didn't just, cast them on his own and use it like a magic 8-ball whenever he felt like it, type of thing. So, your questions, your comments. Yes, Bob.
Why do we think it got so specific as far as colors and patterns and attached here? And why did it need to be specific?
Yeah. Well, last time when we talked about that question a little bit with the tabernacle, we made the point about the tabernacle is going to move around a bit, right? You need to know where these poles are and how they fit together. Also, this is probably not the case so much, right? It's probably not the case that this is like putting on a fireman's suit and they have to figure out exactly how it looks every time. But probably the better answer is just the beauty of it, right? I mean, the Lord really wanted his tabernacle to be a place of majesty and honor. And this guy is going to be going into the most holy place before God, and he's got to kind of be the most holy looking person there. I mean, he's making special sacrifices for himself so he can actually go into the holy place. And he's going to look worthy of that. That's one of the reasons I picked this graphic here, because you have the high priest garment as opposed to the regular, attendant here. There's what the priest wore kind of looks very simple, with a white robe and maybe a red sash, but the high priest, he's definitely a step above. So that's my best answer. Any other thoughts? Yeah. Susan?
I think it was because this is exactly how God wanted the priest to be dressed. They did not have patterns in those days. If a dressmaker would have just made a garment, it could have looked like anything. God was very specific, or Jesus was very specific here, because this is what he wanted, because each one represents something about himself.
Yeah. Just even thinking about, the prominent feature, the prominent features are these stones, aren't they? The stones on the shoulders that have the names of the tribes of Israel. Again, what did we say? Was it the boys' names or the family names? Or that means it's kind of interchangeable. 27
Names
to
of the sons.
the sons, yeah. And so those would be, and then the tribes are mainly the same, right? Except we have a little variation when we talk about Manasseh and such, or maybe we don't. So that seems a little redundant, but that's a prominent feature of, God's people are being represented. It's not, I don't know. I guess the LWMS has all their flags of all the missions, right? He's got little mission flags or representative flags on these stones that he goes before God with. So, Sharon? Yeah.
Well, just to tie in with what Sue said, I was just thinking, God is the God of detail. But if he had just said, make this, their only idea of making would be whatever was back in Egypt with the priests. But God had set these people apart as special. They're his chosen ones. So he almost has everything unique to them as his people versus whatever anybody else was doing around them as nations. And maybe that's why we have so much, and to tie in again with the sons and everything points to one thing, and nobody else seemed to have this. I don't know why I never thought the Urim and the Thummim were like little stones. Don't ask me why. From when they referred to the rest of the scripture, I always thought it was something bigger. It always seems like something,
Okay.
a bigger thing. I was looking at these little stones, I'm going, I'm surprised they never got lost. Because they were just inserted in pockets.
Yeah.
And they were obviously taken out because people went to get them. And it's like, my goodness, they're just small things to deal
Yeah.
with.
You know, it would be curious how hard this would be. You know, did they have topaz and sapphire stones and onyx stones, or was this really going to work? I mean, I'm getting the impression that the Lord is asking them to get some things that maybe they don't have readily accessible or in some other outfit. So question 1 there says, examine a picture of the high priest. We have one. So locate each of the items in the section of Exodus chapter 28. So let's just go down the list here. We haven't read about some of these yet, but we have. So we'll skip over the turban for the moment. That's an interesting piece. Let's look at the ephod first, verses 6 to 9. So the ephod was a square in fabric made of linen and gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarns with a woven band. So these are definitely royal colors, aren't they? They're definitely colors of grandeur, if you will, right? So he definitely is looking the part of the high priest. He's got this robe made of blue fabric with an opening in the middle that is finished with a woven back. So the hem of the robe, we'll jump ahead a little bit here, but so they're told pomegranates made of blue, purple, and scarlet material with alternating golden bells. When ministering in the holy place, tinkling the bells was heard to show the high priest was alive. So I don't believe we have any instances of the high priest dying in the most holy place. If someone has read or remembers that, probably a brief reference. But that was a concern because you can't actually go in after him in the most holy place because you're not the high priest. So not pictured in this picture is the rope that they would tie to him. So literally, if he would die in the most holy place and the bell stopped ringing, they would pull his body out. Tapping my knowledge here, I think the high priest did serve until his death. And he probably wanted to die in the most holy place, honestly. But yeah, but just in case he did, they would pull him out. They had these bells on him. So kind of like a reindeer or a cat with a bell on it. Every time he moves, he's jingling. Yeah. Sharon?
At the time of Zechariah, I often wonder if he was delayed in coming out because of the appearance of the angel to him and that interaction, whether people did begin to wonder why he wasn't surfacing from the high holy place. If there was a delayed time in what he was supposed to do, and then it would have been quiet, then there the bells at least so that he was okay,
Yeah, on the Passover, when they sprinkled the blood and came into the most holy place, I don't know how long that would have taken to say those prayers. It might have been like a pastor's sermon. It might have been like, some high priests took longer than others. But you definitely get the impression that they didn't run in there like a fire drill. They had this rope and these bells. There might be literally leaning against the curtain for a couple 10 minutes to see if he's praying, is he moving. Certainly you don't want to pull on his rope and then he pulls back and he's mad at you. But yeah. Just going around the bottom there. So you've got this tunic undergarments. So it's weaved of checkered work of fine linen, also linen breeches, to be worn under the robe from the loins to the thighs. So, kind of like, can I say spandex or something like that? So we are not going to have any unmodesty, right? We're gonna in it. That's gonna be it doesn't seem like it would be a big deal for the high priest, but it's just another precaution, I suppose. The priests, when they go up on the altar, right, they have a ramp and they're putting this food, the sacrifices on the altar. I could see a situation where, he's 3 or 4 feet up, and you want him to be, wearing his holy breeches. But anyway, priest gets them too. That's fine. Standard issue. So I'll skip over the other priests. I'll go up to the sash there, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet material, and fine twisted linen by the work of a weaver. So that's what our clothes are, right? It's just woven thread. But this is not going to be, I suppose, no shortcuts, right? When it's woven, it's not going to be, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be long lasting. Makes me think now, if we had a priest that was heavier set, did we have to do this, make this over again or something? But I don't know. Probably nobody was overweight in the wilderness. I digress there. Urim and the Thummim, we talked about that. So they carried in the pocket behind the breastpiece of judgment over the high priest's heart, used to determine the will of God. And is it behind the breastpiece? It says in the breastpiece. So I mean, sometimes I think artists depict it like a kind of like another box, but this paper seems to make it sound like maybe it's hidden. I don't know. It's like a pouch, like an inside pocket. Hard to think that it would be over the 12 stones, like blocking your view of them. But it's built in. Shoulder pieces, the onyx stones, one set into gold filigree. I had to look that up. Anybody else? What's filigree?
Kind of a lacy pattern.
Yeah, I mean it's a lacy pattern. It's kind of like
not fancy.
yeah, it's kind of like a snowflake built into fabric. Like the design. Yeah. So he doesn't want just plain old fabric. He wants filigree. Engraved the names of the 12 sons of the tribes of Israel, a memorial, 6 names on the left, 6 on the right. So, why not? We'll look over to the turban for a second. Made of fine, we haven't read this section yet, but made of fine linen, with a plate of pure gold fastened on a blue cord at the front of the turban. And the plate is engraved with the phrase, "Holy to the Lord." It symbolizes the priest bearing the guilt of the people on their minds. So I don't know, this is something that I don't really think a whole lot about in the past, but it's kind of neat. Yeah, you have this gold bands, and has that symbol on it, holy to the Lord. And reminiscent to the giving of the Ten Commandments, put these words on your forehead and on your heart and on your hand. So we kind of do that at St. Peter. We have the psalm on the step, right? As you come up to the altar, Lord is our rock. And then the breastplate. So a square span of fabric made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet material and fine twisted linen. On it mounted 4 rows of stones. You see the different kinds there. Each stone is engraved according to the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. It is attached to the shoulder piece with pure gold, twisted cordage, and rings. I'm sure somebody somewhere has a commentary on which stone for which tribe, but I don't see in our text any explanation, right? We don't know if Benjamin got sapphire or the diamond, but I think I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think they all got different stones? See if they can follow directions or not. I would say, they're all precious and they're all unique, right? I think God looks at his people and they all have a special place in his heart and in the fabric of the nation. So kind of cool. So couple questions that the sheet has for us yet. What was engraved on the 2 onyx stones on the clasp that joined the ephod at the priest's shoulders? Engraved on the 2 onyx stones were
Names of the sons.
names of the sons. Yep. And what was the purpose? Lord said it would be a memorial. Yeah. The other memorial will come up when they go into the promised land, or another one I should say, when they stack up 12 stones as they go across the Jordan River. And I thought that was cool at the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. They have a replica of that. I mean, it is a really modest little replica, but I don't know if I was going to put my 2 cents in on our garden, and if you take out a bush, I think we could get 12 really cool stones and make that again. Pretty cool. Yeah, 12 tribes of Israel. But don't ask me to wear stones on Sunday. It's just, I don't know, not feeling it.
Do we use these 12 stones like your birth? I mean, people have different December,
Oh.
January, February, March. That's where we.
That's interesting. I'm sure some birthstones are rubies and sapphires. A couple of these don't ring any bells to me.
Right.
Like Beryl, B-E-R-Y-L,
Yeah.
or Jackin.
Or even onyx or agate or jasper.
My guess, Al, is
Well, agates you can get at Lake Michigan, onyx you can get down south.
So it's not a precious stone, it's a stone.
Well,
I
mean,
it is.
It's still not, I don't think it's considered one of the precious
Like at
stones.
Lake Superior, yeah, it's a yellow stone and it's bright.
yeah. So these were really associated with the tribes and not a month or anything with the calendar. So my best guess would be the birthstones are gift shop gimmicks. Yeah. Why not?
Women like
Yeah.
Started by a woman. Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I have my ruby on for July.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell you.
In case you forget what month you're on.
Yeah,
If the-
since we're the same month, you know,
Yeah.
just remind me.
How many years have you been married?
19.
Isn't that the ruby one or no?
Yeah, no. If the gift shop's got their say in here, there'd be like a mood ring on the high priest and something funny. But that is interest. That is avoided though, isn't it? Like there is nothing for the hands.
I think the thing that I always, when you think about it, I mean, they sacrifice animals, right? I mean, at the altar. I mean, you had to be blood flying, you know.
So I mean that gets to the practicality of the priestly garments. I mean they can be bleached.
Yeah.
But the high priest, I mean, he's going to avoid that certainly, and
He's gonna get a drop.
yeah. So the colors are not, you know, like let's wear brown and play outside type of philosophy, right? He's not trying to hide any stains, but
And you had to wash it, right? I mean,
the undergarment he would be washing, yeah. But I mean, he's sprinkling blood in the most holy place, so I mean, he's really not anything but his tips of his fingers should be exposed. Yeah. Oh yeah,
I just picked up one of the stones here in the barrels.
yeah.
It says they are among the most popular and also the most expensive of all gems. A wide range of color is represented, from colorless to black. Barrels can be large and flawless, but these are best displayed in museums rather than worn. That's just one of them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we literally have some sort of like crown of England, right? I mean, we have a really expensive, beautiful garment.
I'll look the rest of them up when I get home.
Yeah.
So two thoughts, we were talking about how special this garment was, and it occurred to me, what if you got your hands on one of these original garments today, what would that be worth? I mean, it's spectacular value today. And then she saw something in the notes about the bells.
Yeah.
According to Jewish tradition, one end of a length of rope was tied to the high priest's ankle, and the other end remained outside the tabernacle. If the bells on his rope stopped tinkling while he was in the holy place, the assumption that he had died could be tested by pulling gently on the rope.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I don't know if that was God's intent for the sound just to be a life alert. I mean, that's what we learn. They used it as, but yeah, I think you have a beautiful sound, right? I mean, you have the tabernacle is a place of smells and bells, literally. Like it smells good. There's bells ringing when the high priest is in there. Yeah, it's just a really cool place. Presence of God, and I was reading Psalm 18 this morning for a little devotion, and David talks about, well, I prayed and you heard me from the most holy place. And you think, like, God's people, are thinking, God is in the most holy place. My prayers are not going up to heaven, they're going there. And so that's quite something. He got to be where the prayers are heard. He was right there with God. So, David ever go into the most holy place? I bet he didn't. But he thought about it, right? So, so describe the breastplate. We've been talking about that. There's the pouch with the stones. There's the 12 stone tribes on them. Yeah. Number 4 there. One of the chief duties of the high priest was to ask God to bless the Israelites. How do the following phrases from verse 29 and 30 relate to his duty? Quote, the names of the sons of Israel over his heart as a continual memorial for the Lord. So they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelites over his heart before the Lord. So how does this picture Jesus? Well, Susan?
I'm just taking that Jesus lives in our hearts as a Christian. Whether you're
We were
a pastor or a lay person.
as Aaron, the people were on Aaron's heart as he was reminded he represented them and made intercession for them. Jesus had us on his heart, right? And as he went before God as a sacrifice, as he intercedes before for us on our behalf with God. Yeah. So, also too, I mean, the stones then do kind of all, I don't know, have interaction, right? So these decision stones, they're going to be on behalf of these 12 tribes. Like, so every time he's casting the stones, he's pulling them from the same vest, and he's thinking about the people and seeing how the Lord wants to lead them. It's just different than him wearing a Canadian goose coat and having a couple stones in his pocket, right? It's a lot of symbolism and a lesson there of what it's all about and what he's doing. And that is chapter 28. The summary there, after God established the place where he would live among the Israelites, he created the office of the high priest, the man who would represent Israel before him. I guess I did want to make a comment or just circle back just to the very first part of that chapter again. So he says, have your brother Aaron brought to you from among the Israelites along with his sons, and then the four boys, so they may serve as priests. Yeah, we have the office of priest now established. I don't think we've had anything like that yet. Joe?
To me, this all reminds me of Revelation chapter 1 where it describes heaven. And it's got the same stones and the gold.
Yeah. So let me flip there and remind myself and thinking about
Starting at chapter 2, verse 10.
verse 10. Yeah, they have the lamps. Yeah. Saw 7 golden lampstands. Yeah.
Brilliance like that of a very precious jewel, like a jasper, clear as crystal. And a high wall of 12 gates and 12 angels at the gates. And on the gates were written the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. There were 3 gates on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, 3 on the west.
Are you in chapter 1? I'm sorry.
I'm 21.
Oh, 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I lost you. Yeah. 21. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, this imagery does come back, right? And yeah, even just the, they're camping around it on four sides. You have the heaven Jerusalem being described as four-sided, and yeah.
And the foundations of the city walls were decorated with every kind of precious stone. First foundation was jasper, second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth carnelian, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were of pearls.
Yeah.
It's
We did get a new stone in there. I don't
incredible.
crystal things? Crystal lights, 20, verse 20. But yeah, very much a little. I mean, where God dwells is heaven. I mean, that's a simple definition of heaven. And
So heaven's
This-
gonna be incredibly beautiful.
this, this small room. What did we say the most holy place was? 10 cubits, 15 feet square. So not much bigger than the bathroom, right? That place was a little heaven, and then Revelation 21, we see that just expands to 12 stadia square. So let's continue on. Still working on the garments a little bit. We talked a bit about the head coverings. Oh, I guess it's verse 31. Let's just go to the end of the chapter and call that far enough. A reader there, other priestly garments. Yes, Sharon?
Make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, with an opening for the head in its center. There shall be a woven edge like a collar around this opening so that it will not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn around the hem of the robe with gold bells between them. The gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate around the hem of the robe. Aaron must wear it when he ministers. The sound of the bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, so that he will not die. Make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, as on a seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it to attach it to the turban. It is to be on the front of the turban. It will be on Aaron's forehead, and he will bear the guilt involved in the sacred gifts the Israelites consecrate, whatever their gifts may be. It will be on Aaron's forehead continually, so that they will be acceptable to the Lord. Weave the tunic of fine linen and make the turban of fine linen, the sashes to be the work of an embroiderer. Make tunics, sashes, and caps for Aaron's sons to give them dignity and honor. After you put these clothes on your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and ordain them. Consecrate them so they may serve me as priests. Make linen undergarments as a covering for the body, reaching from the waist to the thigh. Aaron and his sons must wear them whenever they enter the tent of meeting or approach the altar to minister in the holy place, so that they will not incur guilt and die. This is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants.
So, kind of a few things repeated there. They might die if he's not wearing the bells, right? He would incur guilt and die if he's not wearing the undergarments he's supposed to have. I guess there's another reason we have so many details, right? Not to be taken lightly, but to be as holy and as perfect as possible to come before the Lord. And do you want to make a case then that Jesus needs to take away all of our sin? I think we could, right? Jesus doesn't just take away some of the sin or the bad stuff, but we have to be completely holy and cleansed from our sins to be in the presence of the Lord. it's that is the biblical teaching. It's, and Jesus needs to do it. You don't do that in purgatory. You don't get into heaven sort of kind of like with a good life and holy living. But the Lord has to purify us from all unrighteousness. So, do you want to be the high priest? Kind of nerve-wracking, right? It's not. It's just, I was watching a little show about the space program, and all the people that went up into space in the early days, and you think about that, like how one little mistake, and the Russian cosmonauts lost all their air and they died on re-entry, right? One little solar panel or shield on the space shuttle came off, or a ring blew off and it blew up, and really think about that with the high priest. You have to have everything perfect and in order, and you're going to be in front of the Lord. This is no joke. So, I'll read the looks section here, I suppose, to kind of close us off. The robe and upper garment woven in one piece with armholes, but no sleeves, woven around the edge of the knee-length skirt were small golden bells and pomegranates made of twisted yarn. So, God likes pomegranates. There you go. So, expect them at potlucks. The headpiece was the turban of white linen, probably symbolizing holiness, to which was affixed a gold plate on which was engraved the words, "Holy to the Lord." And the tunic and undergarments were worn under the ephod. So Exodus chapter 29 relates the Lord's direction concerning the consecration of priests according to Leviticus 8, 7, and 9. 9 acts were required. These acts are here described in detail. They contain rich symbolism. This chapter can only be fully understood in connection with the sacrificial laws contained in the first 7 chapters of Leviticus. Note that the actual consecration of the priest is recorded in Leviticus after the sacrificial laws had been described. So today we took care of the outward appearance. Next time we'll be looking at the sacrifices he must do before he can go into the most holy place. Yeah, sure.
Going back to the robe, the guide here says an upper garment woven of one piece of cloth. That was the kind of robe that Jesus wore while he was on earth, because when the soldiers gambled for his robe, it's pointed out that it was woven of one piece of cloth.
Right, and so at the very least we can say that one piece of woven cloth made the gambling for his clothes a thing. Probably, right? Because you have to split something that isn't splittable. So that's one reason why he wore it. But also, is it a quiet symbolism of his priestly act of being the high priest for us? So I like that. I don't know if I would. I guess I've been told, or I've felt through the past that this is probably like the one nice thing Jesus did have. Worldly wealth he did not have, but he had a nice undergarment that most people wouldn't have had. So I do love the symbolism, but other than maybe it's a coincidence, if you're thinking it's more than a coincidence, I like that a lot too. So, Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah. Yeah. No beginning and no end. Other things on the tunic or the turban. Always a good reminder that Jesus was a Middle Eastern man. They were wearing turbans. But yeah, to Bob's thought earlier, how expensive it would be to have these. Where are they today? You know, fortunately, we need an Indiana Jones movie probably to find this outfit. But gosh, it would be cool. But maybe it's good that we don't have it, right? Maybe it's good that we can't go to the museum in London and see this. We have Jesus, right? There's no the past. This served a purpose for God's people before Jesus, and now that we have Jesus, we don't need to be holding on to this. But if the Jews got their Temple Mount back and rebuilt the temple, you bet you would probably see this again, right? Which would be cool, but definitely missing the point, right? Missing salvation through Christ. So maybe it is a blessing that the temple isn't rebuilt and people are not turning back to Judaism. And our sermons don't sound a lot like Paul, trying to convince people about that. So. Prayer for a close. We'll still sing even though we're missing Wayne, our leader. I'll say a prayer. Lord Jesus, how great it was that your people had a representative like the high priest of Aaron and his sons that would assure them that their prayers were heard and that their sacrifices were pleasing to you. And how much greater it is now that today we have you to hear our prayers and intercede for us. Continue to keep us on your heart and guide our ways. For we know that we are all your people by faith and children of Abraham through our love of you. Amen. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen.
Now, Wayne will watch, and if we didn't sing,
Yeah.
Hi, Wayne. Yes.